the News for the Soul Radio Network. Hear all of our previous News for the Soul online at newsforthesoul.com. Now let's get back to the show. Next on News for the Soul Radio, it's time for Purrrfectly Holistic with Pam. Pam is a cat mom and holistic health seeker who, after suffering an injury that wouldn't heal, was led on a journey to seek out alternative, holistic, and natural medicine. She now shares what she learned, helping people and their cats along their path to holistic health. Pam has taken courses in holistic health for animals, muscle testing, and animal communication. Please welcome Pam. Back to News for the Soul.
Hey everybody, this is Pam. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Purrrfectly Holistic Radio Show. I hope you guys are having a great day. I am super excited. First of all, I just want to say if we're trying to broadcast on Facebook tonight and having some technical issues with browser and support, and it's not something I'm going to be able to fix tonight. So I am recording this session and I will post it on our Facebook page once I finish. So my apologies for that. So let's get to our awesome, amazing guest tonight. I'm going to introduce you guys to Kara Daniel. Kara Daniel's path to being an animal communicator all started because of a beautiful stray cat came into her life and taught her that she can understand animals on a soul level. And this kitty opened her eyes to a new way of communicating. And ever since the first time she heard the cat introduce herself, Kara was hooked. She had no idea that humans could communicate with animals in such a way. And after that, she started dabbling in classes here and there to learn more about this magical connection and found her life's path. So Kara, thank you for joining me tonight. This is going to be really fun.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I know, and I wish I could be broadcasting on Facebook, but oh my gosh, technical difficulties. And for those of you who are going to be watching this later, there's even a cat here that decided to join us. So anyway, start out by telling us a little bit about you. And I know the intro was very, very brief, but there's always a story. And I think people love to hear how people like you end up doing what you're doing.
Yeah, and I was actually just thinking about this prior to hopping on this call with you, and I really just immersed myself with this mama kitty. I call the kitty who transformed my life Mama Kitty for many reasons, and I'll get to that here in a minute, but I am one of those people that just never really truly fit in. Throughout my whole childhood, I was always called too sensitive and always felt a little bit misplaced and could never really figure out why. It's like, how come nobody else cares about this little butterfly that's injured, you know? I grew up in an urban kind of jungle, and thankfully my mother gardened and introduced me to the wonders of the wild, and always really kept me connected to the animals. We had everything from parakeets to rabbits to dogs. I mean, we had so many little furry and feathered friends, and they kind of kept me connected on many levels when I was really struggling with who I was supposed to be in the world and feeling misplaced and awkward through my adolescence. And unfortunately, when I moved to college, I didn't really find my niche there either. I thought about studying wildlife, kind of always being drawn to the wild and the animals. And didn't really feel like I fit in there either. So essentially my whole life has been a where does Kara fit kind of a journey. And I did end up studying wildlife, and after my studies, this is embarrassing, but for 10 years or so, I tried dabbling in wildlife rehabilitation and rescue work and restoration for wildlands, and I could not figure it out. And I was kind of at my wit's end. It's like the same story, different entities. I mean, I went from this same version of a job throughout my adulthood with the same scenario where I was feeling unfulfilled. I knew there was more, I just could not pinpoint it. And I had enough. I was done. I quit my job. I was working with some kids doing some science-based stuff, and I just had enough. And I quit kind of on the spot and thought, now what? What do I do now? And so I took this random job at this golf course where I was just kind of pulling weeds for 8 hours a day. That gives you a lot of time to think about things, right?
Absolutely.
And right up front, about a month in, one of my coworkers said, "Hey, I have this cat that just showed up at my house." And I thought, oh, this is not for me. I don't have to save the world. Walk away. And we all know how that story ends. I turned back around and said, "Of course, I'll help you find this kitty a home." Like, just try to trap her or get her to me somehow, and I can help, since I had so many experiences with rescue kitties. And oh my gosh, he brought me this cat whose eyes were just neon green, and she looked right at me. And I thought, well, you're coming home with me, obviously. I put her in my shed and found out that she was pregnant.
Oh.
And I thought, oh, shoot. Now what? To be fully transparent, I was a new cat mom at that point, and didn't really know what to do. So I took her to the vet, and I thought, well, maybe I could find a nice rescue that would take her and help me out here. Well, the vet told me that she was due any day.
Yeah.
And that she was young and that she'd probably only have 3 kittens. And I thought, oh, well, I don't want to stress her out. I can handle that. Well, she was not due any day. She was only maybe midway through her pregnancy. And so I had this cat in my shed, a luxurious shed at that, for months on end, and just kind of waited for her to eventually birth 7 kittens. And
7
kittens, and she was maybe 2. She was 2 years old, and she had 7 kittens, all healthy, all beautiful. She's a great mom, but 7 kittens. So I didn't really know what to do with them. They were kind of outgrowing their little shed, getting ready for a new home. And I thought, gosh, this mama kitty is so cool. I love her. But I never named her, which was really weird because I usually name whoever walks through my door within a day. And this was a couple of months later, and I thought, what the heck is your name? I don't know your name, and I cannot come up with anything. And that was so bizarre to me. And so I was sitting with her one day, and I just looked at her thinking, gosh, just, do you have a name? What is it? And all of a sudden I heard Samantha, and then I heard maybe 5 or 6 other names. And I was like, what just happened? That was the very first in my face communication I had, where it was, I couldn't deny it. Her stare at me was so intense. I knew she put that in my mind. And then all of the little kittens had their own special names too. And from then on, I was hooked. I thought, gosh, I need to figure out how to do that again and again and again. And then it kind of became an obsession. And I realized, wow, I can work with the animals on such a unique level and bring people closer to their pets. And it's kind of all a waterfall from there. It just kind of flushed me away.
Yeah. But how beautiful, you know?
Yeah, I actually have one of her little baby daughters in my house now too. She's my first household kitty.
That's so great.
Yeah, so that's the story in a nutshell. I just kind of got swept away,
And here you are.
And here I am, yeah.
How long ago was that?
Oh, 3 years probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she was the kitty that put you on your soul path.
She was. She said, "You've had enough dinking around. It's time to get to business." And she kind of just pushed me forward, and there was no turning back. So
That's so
yeah. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. It really is. So let's talk about some of these amazing clients, because I know we share some of them. And I know you have pulled together some really great stories, and people love stories because they remember stories, not necessarily facts. But I think one of the reasons I wanted you to be on the show is just because you are doing such an amazing job of building that deepening that relationship between the pet parent and the animal. And so that we as pet parents can better understand their needs, learn different perspectives, their takes on the world, and even stuff like death and dying can be very, very different and very enlightening, needless to say. And just some of the lessons that they are here to teach us. So what would you like to share first?
Oh, so many things. Where do I want to start? I think the relationships alone are something to really consider. Animals come into our lives for many different reasons. My mama kitty came to me to push me on my path, whereas somebody else might encounter, say, a behavioral issue with a cat or a dog or a horse or whoever, to really teach them a specific lesson. And a lot of time when there's behavioral issues, it's a leadership role, it's something else going on with the dynamics of the household. It's not usually kind of a black and white story. And so just the relationship that the animals can bring to us is really profound if given the opportunity to be exposed. A lot of people think their silly little cat that they might not think is so intelligent is really truly an old wise being that's just there for a specific reason to show them something. And so when we open up these communications with their animals, it's really eye-opening as to why they're here. All of the animals have missions of they're on this whole journey too. They're trying to learn and expand and teach, and it's all encompassing. And it's just a beautiful thing if we're willing to open our awareness to that and receive what they have to offer. So,
Right. The first step, of course, is being open.
Yes. Yes. Some people push back really hard, saying, my cat's not like that, or my dog's not like that. And I'm like, well, this is what they're showing me. You might not perceive them in this capacity, but they are souls, they're beings, they're most likely evolved more than we give them credit for. And they're kind of just putting on a false display sometimes just to help us out. I mean, they're really here just to help us learn and expand. And I do run into pushback a little bit with people saying, oh, animals can't communicate in that way. It's like, okay, well, there's only so much I can do to help you. But if you want, like, just let me show you just a tiny little bit.
Right. And I think a lot of times, it's important to remember, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it the animal's higher self that's coming through in the conversations?
Yeah. So I feel like that's kind of double-edged. So from my experiences, and I know other animal communicators are unique and bring forward their own energies and their own connections. From what I collect through my connections it is a higher self. So we have kind of two versions, or what we do as people, and then our animals kind of have two versions. They have the personality that they're embodying, and then they have their higher self, which is kind of a wiser being that can shed light on, oh, silly kitty's missing the box, and this is why. Whereas the kitty might just be missing the box due to the litter, the litter not being compatible with its toes type of thing. But the higher being can bring in a new perspective. It brings in the deeper relationship and the intricacies of what it is. And that's where you can really broaden your horizons of understanding of why they're in your life versus what is Fluffy's favorite toy. You know what I mean? It's a two-way street. So if you're wanting a session to see what your animal's favorite toy is, of course they're going to say something. But if you want to dig a little deeper, there's definitely that potential, and that is with a higher self. So I find that there's almost two personalities within a session, depending on what the owner is looking for.
Absolutely.
And ready to receive.
Right, exactly. Because as you said, what they're showing them and what they're saying may not mirror each other. So they have parents can have a disconnect, like, oh, like you said, that's not how my cat thinks, or that's not the behavior. It doesn't match. It doesn't line up. So yeah, it's just interesting. So in cases like that, I know we've talked about just telling the parent, if it doesn't resonate with you, what is coming across, don't reject it. Just set it aside for now. Because an epiphany moment 6 months from now or 2 weeks from now, and something will click and you'll look back and you'll go, oh, okay, I get it now. But sometimes we're not ready. Sometimes the parent isn't ready. They have to be brought along to a certain place, and their awareness, their consciousness has to be to a certain level, and then it would make sense. Whereas before, they weren't ready to receive that.
Yep. And a lot of afterlife sessions kind of encompass that same theme, where once an animal leaves their body, they kind of leave the earthly, I call it baggage, but the earthly kind of concepts and things that we humans attach to, and kind of bring forward the deeper meaning of the relationship and the intricacies of it there. And sometimes the parents aren't ready for that. They're not ready for what it was. They just want proof of life and confirmation in that regard. So it really does depend on kind of where the pet person is at.
Yeah, exactly. So share with us some of the stories that have really stuck with you, that are just really, really special, or just real eye-opening, just to kind of give our listeners and viewers some cool insights, and maybe this will pique their interest in trying animal communication with their pets.
Yeah. Oh gosh, so many to pick from. I think some of the I think for me, some of the more profound and just deeply moving and healing sessions that I do are those in transition or the senior pets, where they might not necessarily be on their deathbed per se, but the pet parent is thinking, gosh, they're getting older. What do they want? What do they need? And they not only have that initial conversation with them, but they carry through over, say, multiple days, weeks, months, even years. It depends on the unique situation. But from the moment where a pet parent says, gosh, this is on my radar, my animal is not going to live forever, and I have to start thinking that way, and then start having those conversations with the pet themselves, saying, hey, how are you doing? This is my feeling that maybe you're going to transition soon. What do you want? What do you need? What does this look like for you? And just having that perception alone is life-changing. It helps so much with the transition because you can literally ask them what they want. How do they want to go? Do they want assistance? Do they not? Do they want a special fluffy bed to lay on? Or do they want to be lavished in bonbons and fluffy toys? It's knowing their final wishes and honoring them. And then when they do transition, of course it's going to hurt. Of course that grief is going to be there, but the load has been lessened a little bit because you've been there. You've asked them, and then you can move forward and communicate with them in the afterlife. And so to me, those are the sessions that really, truly stick out, where you just commit to them, you listen to what they need and want in their final moments, and you honor them. And I know personally, you and I together have worked with a few of these scenarios, and it's just been eye-opening and life-changing and just a beautiful scenario. I truly, and I think those are the most profound that I have had, at least.
Yes. And some of those instances, as they are, have just really brought the pet parent and the pet even closer together, even though they know the outcome is going to be separation, in body at least. It's just a beautiful insight, and although it doesn't take the pain away, it does make that transition easier. It really does.
Yeah, for both the pet and the parent, because the stress isn't there. What should I do? Let's go to the vet 100 times to keep checking in. It's a little bit more intimate and a little bit more raw, of course, but you know what the animal wants, and I think that's something to honor, and it's a very beautiful thing.
Yeah. So those insights or lessons that you've experienced, if you'd like to. Share some of those not conversations necessarily, but like give us some examples of some pets that you've worked with, and like some of the things that they've shared.
Oh, so many. Gosh, just the way that animals transition is pretty interesting. I've worked really closely with dogs, cats, horses, and usually what they say is just, I'm not in as much pain as you think. I know it looks really ugly to you, but a lot of times the animals have the ability to kind of separate from their body and essentially just kind of levitate and be free of the pain, and the body goes through the motions, but the spirit or the soul of the animal doesn't have to go through that. So that's something also I want to just point out, is that a lot of the animals that I've worked with in those final moments are just saying, hey, it's not as bad as it looks. I know it looks awful and horrible to you, but for me, I can escape the pain. It's not a thing. I'm just right next to my body. I'm there. My body is going through the motions, but my spirit is next to it. And it's nice to know that, you know, because a lot of people hold the guilt and a lot of people hold the what did I do? What could I have done better? And it's all fine. The animals are never going to hold any grudge against you. And I worked really intimately with this one woman and her cat during the final months, days, minutes, up to the final hours. And this cat, she was just adamant about transitioning on her own. She didn't want vet assistance. And I know that is kind of one of those topics, you know, your animal suffering, you know, it's your job to release them. But this kitty was adamant. She wanted to do it on her own. She wanted to honor the process because she had done it many times before. She said she had lived many lifetimes and just wanted to do the process naturally. She wanted to do it at home. She didn't want to go to the vet for 100 more checks. And ultimately, she wanted to be buried next to a tree so she could give her body back to the earth. And I thought that was just absolutely beautiful. She was so adamant that she wanted everything to be natural because she wanted to give her body back to the earth to return the energy. And the mom of this kitty was just, she did so beautiful. She checked in every other week and she cradled this beautiful kitty in her final moments and honored all of her wishes. And the grief was lifted and she didn't feel so heavy, even though that kitty was in her late teens and they had been together since she was a kitten. And if I think too hard about it, I'll cry. So I'm not going to. but it was truly beautiful how, and this kitty too, she really just said, I'm so adamant about doing this because number one, I want to have you talk about this. I want you to let the world know that it is okay to let us go naturally because it's normal for animals to die on their own will through their own process and to give back to the earth instead of just being euthanized with chemicals and such, which is also an okay route to go. I would also like to say that. But she specifically wanted her message to be, it's okay. That's it. Just, it's okay. Just do what you feel you need to do. Honor us the way you want to honor us, and it's all okay. But yeah, she was a cool kitty.
And I have a special reading from the sister of that kitty that wanted to share this particular experience because it really was powerful. So I'm going to pull it up. Hang on one second. I have it here in an email. One more. Oh, I gotta find it. Here we go. Okay, so this is the sister of the kitty who passed. You had asked her, is there anything else you want me to pass on to your mom? Because she was doing a check-in with this particular kitty. And she says, tell her we are all so very sorry that sister transitioned. But she handled it so beautifully, and we are all so proud of her for sticking with it and sticking with the process. It's not always easy to watch us die of natural causes, but it is natural for us to die from natural causes. So we are all so thankful and so proud and so honored that you did such a fabulous job with what was presented. It did take longer than you expected because it takes a moment or two for our bodies to give out after we detach. You see, sister died a few days ago, and the body had to go through the motions of letting go. I believe mom noticed it when the transition happened, but she wasn't sure because Ginger was still moving and milling around. Mom knew, though, in her heart. We were all aware when she passed as we saw the bright blue and white cord of energy fly up into the sky and then detach and fall back down and wither away. We see that all of the time when animals pass. It's in the skies, always, as many animals transition all of the time. It's not unfamiliar to us. She's so happy now, and I can feel her bright and shiny energy. She's healed and is free and strong once again. I know she'll be by as soon as she can be, as she is forever grateful for you to take the time and courage to release her by her own free will. I was moved to tears when I read that first time, and I know the cat mom was moved to tears just to hear that, and probably not just moved to tears, but just like left with our jaw on the floor, because we're like, holy cow, this is what they see. Because we can't see with our eyes. We can see that and have it explained. I had never heard that before.
Yeah, that was, I can still hear that message happening in my mind. What a beautiful community of animals this woman has. But yes, when an animal dies, from my understanding, they detach and they are connected by an energetic light cord that is often shown to me as white and kind of a blue. And then when they formally detach, it kind of just severs and withers away. And then their energy moves forward and their body does eventually stop. But there is a delay. And a lot of times you can see it in their eyes. You know, when they lose that sparkle, that's when the detachment begins. And that's usually when people reach out and they're like, oh no, and okay, they're not in pain, they've detached, they're still there, they're still connected, but they're not in pain, and the process has started. And then when they detach, it's like a little floating beam of light that slowly dissipates. And I'm speechless. I don't know what to say after that.
I know. It's incredible just to hear that experience and visualize it in our minds, like, wow. And looking back, I mean, over the years, we've lost cats too, and there's a couple that I can just remember seeing that, you know, that spark in their eyes being gone and not realizing what I was seeing. But when I read that, it's like, wow, it just really sank in. It's like, and I'll remember that going forward, because it really made an impact, you know?
Yeah, I feel like just being aware of that, and even if you don't necessarily understand it, or if you haven't experienced it yourself, is just hold that for later. Maybe you'll see it and you'll know what's happening, and you can kind of refer back to that. And
So share another story, and then I also have one of the other readings that you did for another client of a kitty that she lost many years ago and just lost. So, but is there anything you want me to share before we go to that one?
No, I think we should dip into that one. That one's cool.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so let me pull this one up. And this kitty's name is Spike. And so I'm going to read the transcript because Mom said, please read this. She thinks it's so very cool. So here's how it goes. Introductions. Hello, Spike. Your mom asked me to connect with you. Would you like to begin by introducing yourself? And he says, I was a mastermind and a masterpiece. Let's be honest here, I was a work of art. I was handsome and magnificent, and all the ladies loved me. I was also savvy and mischievous. I had a temper, as you can imagine, and liked things my own way. I wouldn't just let anyone cuddle or love on me for any duration of time. I had my preferences and my special people in my corner. I did love to be loved by them. And you asked, what happened to you? He says, that need not be discussed. It would only bring and cause pain to what already strikes a nerve and heartache. Let's just say what is done is done. and there is no need to hold on to the past, as the past is no longer important. Let us look forward into healing our wounds, healing our heartache, finding ways to forgive and get into forgiveness. Holding on to grudges is a terrible, terrible endeavor. It only harms the one who holds the anger and resentment. It does no good into the world, nor does it do any good for the soul. My message here today really is to learn to let the past be and let it go and love with all your heart. Love with what will open the gateways into forgiveness and being loving and kind and gentle with yourself. I will not disclose anything, not even the slightest hint as to what happened to my body, as it is no longer, of course. I am, however, which is what is so important. I am. You are. We are tied together like a Celtic knot, bound for eternity without any end. Do you see what I mean? Have you seen a Celtic knot? There is no end and no beginning. You see, we have never broken apart, and our story will never end. It is quite beautiful indeed. You asked him, were you happy and at peace? He replied, I was always happy when you were around. You were my sunshine, my ray of light. You were the bright sky in my dark and dreary days. You were my love. You were my light. I was never unhappy when you were around. I hope you felt the same. And you asked him, do you know how much your mom loved you? Of course I do. Don't be silly. She loved me as much as I loved her. It was sad to see her go when she left. Lots of complicated emotions were running through her during that time. I felt them in my heart of hearts. I wanted to go with her. I never wanted her to leave, but I understood now why she did. And you said, I'm getting a sense that he was left behind, whether that be emotionally or physically. He continues, she never meant to hurt me. I fully understand the capacity of all that was and what went down. There is no hurt, there is no blame. There is only love for you, my dear one. Only love in the highest regard. So you ask next, what was your favorite part of life? And he says, being in the sunshine that I provided in your darkest hours. I wanted to be your sunshine and your hope and light. I wanted to be your guide and shining star. I wanted to show you the way out of a dark situation and into the light. I hope I did that honor to you. I hope you saw the beauty of it all. I don't have a favorite part of life, as the whole beautiful thing was magical and not to be missed. I must say, I'm sure you are looking for specific details as to my favorite chair or my favorite snuggle spot, but all in all, it does not matter, as those were mere things and minute details of the greater picture. I did like the chair, however, and underneath in the darkness. He's showing me a recliner chair that looks a bit yellow or light in color, and also what feels like underneath a porch or a location that is darker and cool and damp. He continues, I enjoyed my time in the sunshine and my time on your lap. I enjoyed when you whispered to me all of your secret affairs. I miss your warm caress and your gentle touch. Maybe one day I'll be back to revisit our life together, because our life together was much too short. I feel as though now maybe we could be together in full without any distractions or anything bringing us down. I feel the light shining bright for you, my dear one, and I think I might want to come join you. What would you say to that? I feel like we could have a do-over, a fresh start, a romantic relationship once again. What do you say? I'd love the chance to be with you again, and this time in full light. I am anxious for your reply, as I worried you had forgotten me. I'm so thankful you chose me to be of service to you, and I feel as though we have been cheated. Let's try again, shall we? You give me the go-ahead, and I'll make my plans swift and fiercely so I can have another chance with you this time around. Do please let me know if that is okay, and if you'll be in the market of receptivity once again. I would be honored to be your knight in shining armor for the end of days. I just need permission to make it so. Your next question was, do you visit your mom? And if so, do you do something to let her know? He says, I have not visited in a long time. I did so at first, however, I felt the pain was too sharp, and when I was near, I'd cause more harm than good. I wanted to be respectful of your space and your light. I used to drop in here and there, but you were busy doing your own thing, so I just check in quickly and see if you are all right, and then I'd move along. I didn't want you to feel me as there is baggage there with my loss. I didn't want you to bring that back and forth and up, so I stayed away. I hope that is okay, my dear one, as I had your best interest at heart. I have dearly missed you, though, my love. And you asked, is there anything else you wanted to share with his mom? And he says, my peace has been determined. I'd like to reiterate that I am fine, my dear mother. I am fine. I was and always have been okay. I knew that being loved by you was the best thing that could ever happen to me, and for that I cherish every moment we have had together. Let's revisit those times and create new ones. I'd be honored if you'd have and take me back. Please do let me know. Just the mere fact that you have reached out to me, a lowly old cat from days past, brightens me like a shining star. When you look into the sky and wish upon a star, think of me. I'll try and make a star shoot for you next time you notice the galaxy. I think I can do that for you. That special star will be from me, and I'll make it extra bright in honor of your light shining ever so brightly. Brighter than I've seen it in years. I love you, my dear mother, and I hope to see you again soon. And he showed you an image of a very small gray kitten in the hands of a woman.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's how he plans to come back. I don't know, but isn't that amazing?
I'm all teary-eyed just revisiting that.
I know.
Now, Spike was a cat from his mom's past. I don't remember the complete story, but I remember him kind of, did he disappear and she wanted to just kind of see what happened? Or I cannot remember exactly the specifics, but it was a childhood cat. Is that right?
And she ended up moving away with family or something and never found out what happened to the cat that she left behind. And so she's kind of carried that with her all these years, you know, like years later, and she's never forgotten him. And she's always had this wonder in the back of her mind, like, oh, that was my love. I wonder what happened to him, because she missed him so much. She had, but she was a child, you know, and when your parents move you, you move. So yeah. But she shared with me that a lot of stuff that he shared in there, she read it several times, and she goes, I would pick up another clue that only he and I would know about every time we read it, and it had really special meaning of things that she used to say to him or sing, or you know, what she talked to him about, and just just struggles that children go through, and he was there to be her comfort. And how beautiful a story is that?
Oh, I know that one just touches my heart.
Yeah.
And the thing too, I mean, there's so many layers. And the thing with the way that I communicate with animals specifically through transcript is not everybody's cup of tea. However, there are multiple layers. And the more you read and the more you reread and the more you hold on to things, it's almost like a new thing or a new session every single time, because there's just so much there, and you can have it forever. And with this one, even just going through it for me is kind of cool, because it brings forward so many different layers that, I mean, I don't know this cat, I don't know the mom, I don't know the story. Generally, the less I know, the better, but you can just tell the connection, how much they love each other, and just knowing that the layers are there. And the healing, it's all about that. It's to hold on to something from childhood and then to finally find a release and comfort in that as an adult. Truly, I mean, that's
I know. And I know that she was very, very just overwhelmed.
Yeah.
You know, she was she texted me, she goes, I'm sobbing. But it was probably out of relief, making that connection again that she never thought she would have. I mean, anyone who's lost a cat or a pet and you never knew what happened to it, there's never closure. There's something in the back of your mind wondering, what could I have done to go find that? Could I, what happened to you? There's never closure, and it's very, very hard. And to have closure. So if anybody out there has lost a pet, that you've always wondered whatever happened to you, it can be heartbreaking. I was connecting, reconnect with that animal, ask those questions. Maybe they'll share it with you. But I agree with you that they never sit here and point the finger and blame. They don't want us to feel guilty for anything. They just want us to remember the good and the love that they share.
Yeah, and there's also there's no time frame. So if you had a pet when you were 3 and you're now 90, that doesn't matter. They're still there. We can still connect. There truly is no barriers. There's no time.
Yeah.
Just also know that they're still there.
So basically, you use a photo of him. Go into your session and you ask the parents questions, and because they give those to you ahead of time, and you just you start having a conversation, right?
Yeah, a lot of times, really, yes, the photo does help just to kind of, I can pick up their energy and essence that way. But to be fair, a short description, if you don't have a photo, is definitely adequate. Their name is really all we need. And yeah, so essentially just, your overarching goals, what do you want out of a session? And a lot of times I just kind of let the pet free flow, because they already know what you're wanting to ask, and they will naturally just answer your questions intuitively, and because they know that you're wanting to know these questions, the answers to these questions. And so even if you just have a simple goal in mind, they'll give you what you need. And that's the beautiful thing, is they know, and they always come through. and if you're ready, they're always ready to challenge you and to bring you up a notch. So be ready for whatever, because they're there and they want to help you progress and give you healing and just provide you with what you need in that moment in time. So.
Yeah, true. And I remember seeing some other transcripts of conversations that my cat clients have shared with me, and it's so funny because they're like, oh, you again, mom's upset, isn't she?
Yeah. So a lot of times, a lot of people just do kind of the one session here and there just to check in. But those who are committed to behavioral issues, or just kind of figuring out the dynamics of whatever scenario, or just to get to know them on a deeper level, it's like, oh, you're back. You're in my head again. Why are you here today? Now what? Am I in trouble? What did I do this time? Or I actually have this one. I've really appreciated this one specific scenario. So I've been working with this dog over a few months, and he was always kind of second in line, second to his brother who recently passed. And the first few times I connected with him, he kind of had some attitude. He threw me some snide remarks. I'm like, okay, I get that. You're second in line. You don't necessarily feel the same capacity of love as your brother. And, you're always overshadowed. And over several sessions with both of the dogs, one in spirit and one living, they've kind of come to what they call an accord, where we do the sessions separately and we give each other their own special space. And over a span of 6 months or so, this dog that's still living is feeling so good. He's just like, gosh, I feel the love. I feel like I'm finally getting my moment where I'm heard and I'm seen and my family understands me. And he's funny. He has a sense of humor. Never would have guessed. And it's really cool to kind of see the progression once you open the gateways of communication and build the relationship and honor them for who they are, and just kind of see how they morph through more than one session. And so the relationships can go either way. Oh, hey, you're back. Or, oh, hey, let me tell you about my day. So it's really cool to kind of just see how things play out.
No, exactly. I just think that it's so fun. I remember learning animal communication, going through the training class, and we had to pick, work with the pet or an animal or whatever. And I got a chicken. And I talked to a chicken, and she had a British accent.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I never even expected hearing a chicken talk in a British accent, but it was really, really funny. And it just made me realize that we just have to put aside all our expectations and see how they come through. And they can be humorous and just not what we expect sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, and chickens. They are their own thing.
Hello, my dear.
Oh, that is so funny. I talked to a duck that had a British accent once, and I thought, wow, I don't even know what to do with that. That was when I was first starting out, and I thought, wow. And I talked to a French cat once. There are no limits. There are no limits.
It's true. It's so funny. Oh my gosh. Before we wrap up, what's the funniest conversation you can remember having with a pet or an animal?
Oh, the funniest. Ooh, that's a good question. The funniest conversation. Okay. There's this dog that I talk to pretty frequently, and he is the laziest thing. And I hate to just say that to their parents because, your dog's lazy. But he's just, I would rather hang out and eat bonbons and watch the fire. Or his pet parent asked what he wanted to learn in this lifetime, if there's anything specific. And he said, ooh, I'd like to try surfing or maybe rollerblading. It's like, what? Really? And I just started laughing, and he said, what? I think I could do it. Just give me some goggles and strap on a helmet. And I thought, I can't send this to his parents because they're going to think I'm crazy. But I mean, they thought it was hilarious, and they just picked up his sense of humor, and they really opened up to what communication can bring and what these animals perceive. And I just still laugh when I think about this dog skateboarding or rollerblading with these goggles and these floppy ears. These animals.
With pets.
Yeah, they're so intuitive, and they just come up with the best things. You never know what you're going to get.
You never know what you're going to get. No, it's true. It's so true. So what I want to do, just kind of wrap things up, I want to encourage our listeners, if you have never done an animal communication session, you've got to do one. It's not, we offer several different tiers at Purrrfectly Holistic. We have Kara. She's an amazing communicator that works with us. And it's not as expensive as you might think. There's just several different price points and different types of services that you can choose from. And just treat yourself by connecting with your pet in such a neat, unique, special way. Especially if you do a transcript session, because you will cherish that for life. I promise you. It is so powerful that you actually have words and thoughts and interaction and communication with your pet on a totally different level than you've ever communicated or ever had before. And it is so powerful, especially if you are having to say goodbye or said goodbye to one in spirit, because it really helps heal our hearts to hear from them once they've passed and crossed over, just to get their perspective. And it's just so healing because so many times we carry guilt for what we did, what we didn't do, what, was there something we could have done better, or, whatever kind of guilt that we can put on ourselves related to their health issues or passing or whatever. And it's just so freeing. And I know it's made a huge difference in my life when I did that when one of my cats passed away. So I would just encourage you to open your mind, put all your expectations aside, do a session, and just sit back and be amazed at what you get, because it is truly incredible. It's amazing. And it can actually be life-changing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Absolutely. Well, for those of you who don't know how to find us, it's purrrfectlyholistic.com. It's Purrrfectlyholistic.com. And our store is shop.purrrfectlyholistic.com. And you can go into our drop down under products. You'll find services. You can check out the services that we have. We have animal communication. We have wellness. We have Reiki. We even have services for pet parents, so check some of those out. It's really, really cool. And if we can be of service to you and your pet family, let us know. Kara, any final thoughts before we go?
Just be open to the process. Truly. They want you to connect with them. They want to have their voices heard. So do them the honor at least once and see how you feel.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. And we will be posting this on our pages so you can go back and listen or watch later. Thank you guys. Have a blessed Thanksgiving, and we'll see you guys next month. Good night, everybody. Bye.
Next on News for the Soul, Balanced Wellness.